So here we are in the village. This is, I think, the most beautiful village, stylized wise and every other wise, if you will, that I ever seen since Breath of the Wild. And that is, I think, what I really love this art style, because it is very similar to Breath of the Wild, except it is just with a more budget. So yeah, I'm gonna go into a bunch of details of why exactly do I like this and why does the village looks that good. And the best way that I find to try and drive the point home is to do a small comparison or a big comparison between this and the other area that you can go to later on, which is like a city or a town that have different vibes from this. So the best way to do it is just to do small comparisons here and there. But for now, let's go around and see the major kind of points that make this area what it is. The first thing that we can describe this lovely village with is that it has a very good cozy vibes to it, and the reason why is because they have a very handmade feel to them, from the buildings, which we're gonna get to soon, to the way that everything is textured and modeled. So if we look right here in this walkway, for example, you will see that it's blended in with the nature around it. You see how the dirt kind of blends in with the pathway, and how the pathway itself is made out of cobblestone or whatever you call it, which all of these stones are not the same size and not the same color. So unlike the ones that you might find in that town area, all of them are very unique in all of them are very unique and laid down perfectly and in line, in comparison to this one, which uses very different size ones, very different shapes and very different colors, which the colors are very unique. Also, you can see that on top of the variation of the values, they have these accented blue colors in them. And in addition to that, you have the way that they blend in with the dirt around them. And the way that you do that, there are two techniques that you can do so, or three of them, if you will. You have the first one is the terrain itself. You can raise it and lower it, and if you raise the terrain on top of when you put the pavement, then you raise the terrain, it looks like dirt have settled on top of it. That's a cool trick. Another one might be just using decals, but that way you will be using too much of them. The second technique is to try and blend them with the ground or whatever terrain is below them, and that is easy. There is just one node that takes care of that, which is when two objects meet, you blend in between those two materials. It uses virtual textures in Unreal Engine, I think, and it is a very quick and easy thing to set up. But the thing that I don't hear a lot about, I don't see a lot of people using, especially beginners, which is vertex painting. And the concept of vertex painting, it is self-explanatory, which is you just paint on vertices. Usually you use the RGBs, which is each one of those channels is a mask basically. So you point toward where you want your dirt to be, for example, and if you have some extra details like cracks, you will put them in the other channel. And if you have some other extra detail like blending in with some other material, you will put that in the blue one. That is the concept of vertex painting basically. And I think I have an example here. If you look at this quick example that I made early on that I didn't manage to finish fully, you will see that you have those red points in there. All of those reds are vertices that I have painted. So this technique, for it to work properly, you need to have a sufficient amount of vertices on your meshes for it to work, because if you have only just a rectangle, that technique will not be able to work that well. And doing it in Unreal Engine, you can use tessellation if you want to add in extra vertices, but what I recommend also to do is to use that node that uses the displacement map, because here in Blender I just cheaply use the displacement map just to multiply it on top and create a cheap contrast for it to look the way that I want it. So if you look here, I'm using just one mesh that you can see right here. This is just a single mesh. On it I have three materials. You have this concrete on the bottom, you have the tiles, and you have this plaster thing going on, which each one of them, if we have to look at them individually, you will see that they're not just one material, there are two. And I'm using these group nodes. In Unreal, I think you use the material function, I think they call it, where you put a whole material in there and you use that, you reference it, something similar to this. So the material function, for example, it will be something like this, where you put all of your normal maps, your AO, your color, metallicness, and displacement in here, and you use that material function like this to put it in the big master material that you're going to use with all of the masks, like the ones that we use in here, for example, the one with the vertex painting. But also there are some extra masks that you can have. For the masks that you can have with the mesh, because a mesh have some data baked into it, and you always need to take advantage of that, or else you will be missing on a lot. So we have this sphere right here. What I'm gonna do is use the normals to spot where exactly is the top of the sphere. Now, no matter what kind of weird shape that this sphere have, the normals are always going to be at the top, no matter what happens. Now, for example, if I rotate this and apply the transform, the normals are always going to be on the top, because I'm isolating the blue channel, which if you look up here, you will see that the Z is equivalent to blue, and same goes for the green channel and the red channel. But we have this one. Also, we have another one which is very unique, that will look great on the mesh right here. This one for like object orientation. Now, if we take the blue one, we can see that we have a gradient going from top to bottom, which I have a duplicate right here of the mesh, so we can preview that properly. You have a gradient that's going from bottom to top, and we can use that gradient to add something like either we can blend in with the environment, like we have here in the game, with the pavement and so on, like the lowest points will be blending in with the ground, or if I can find some door over here, so like this door right here, or the bottom of the pillars, you see that they have this gradient of dirt on them. There is also a use of dash gradient that uses the object coordinates rather than having a mask painted on top, which if you can paint that using vertices, vertex painting or so on, do it. But you usually want to save that for other extra detail, and you're trying to use as much as you can without having to bloat the game with too many useless textures to just bloat in the size of the game. So where were we? Yeah, I said the gradients, that we have the neat techniques, but going back to the painting, the vertex painting, we don't need this. So for the vertex painting, you can see that I'm blending between two materials, and you can see how neat it does look, which if you look right here, the actual mesh itself, it doesn't have that much on it, but it does look very very unique in terms of how it looks. So if I can turn on the wireframe, if you look at the wireframe right here, you will see that the mesh doesn't have too much going on, but we managed to give it this much detail. And I imagine that if you add in some parallax, if that can work or look good, it will look even more detailed without having that much going on, which the only way that you can achieve it is with having this technique being used. And the best thing about this is it works well to enhance the way that modular meshes work, because modular meshes are just one mesh being used multiple times, so the tiling can quickly get too much on the nose. So that is why we have something like the vertex painting, because the vertex painting is based on the instance, not on the material itself or like a baked in texture. So if we look at this, in an lit mode, you will see that these two pillars are the exact same ones, but both of them have a different amount of rust from the bottom, and this one have some more on the top. The reason why is because both of them are different meshes, and each one of them uses a different mask than the other. That way we can have a lot of variation. So for example, this one, if I edit it, it doesn't affect this the other one. If I want to add in even more to it, I can without affecting the other, and if they work next to each other, they will look a bit more unique. So that is the big advantage that you have when you're using vertex painting, and you always need to think of it when you're trying to create your environment. There is this great talk about using trim textures and in environment or video game environment development. It is by the guys that made The Ascent, and they are very five-head big brain dudes that made that environment, because most of the environment is made with just one texture. In matter of fact, I think I have it here. So if you look here, most of the environment is in that game is made out of just this texture right here that you see in front of you, and they use this to create both complex environments and machines, vehicles, and so on. Because they use just this texture, they manage to put in that much detail in there, in addition to techniques such as vertex painting and some other weird things that I'm going to be talking about in the future, because I already talked too much about a small section that's supposed to be about just vertex painting. So moving on to the next major points in this area. The other major points, again, as I said before, which is the way that assets are created. So just something like this. Look at the vibes over here. You can see that this piece of cloth on top of this wood place is completely unnecessary, but it adds to the coziness vibe, in addition to the way that everything is made. So you can imagine that this was made by someone and it broke, then they add this piece of wood right here to try and fix it. So that adds into the homemade vibes that they're going for, in comparison to the other place, which is the town, where everything looks like just a commercial area around that plaza, and nothing looks so welcoming as this, even though that it looks nice and vibey, but it doesn't have the coziness of this area right here. So yeah, if we keep moving along, there is another point that we have. This is another example of the differences between the two, both in terms of the material use and the shapes. This is just a wooden fence, but in the town you will find a fence that is made out of iron, and it shows both two things. It's the hostility, because you need security when you're a big urban area, but also there is some advance in there to create that type of fence. These kind of ideas are very important when you're in the making or the development or pre-production concept art phase, to clearly distinguish between these two areas, because these details might seem small to you, but they are exactly like something similar to making a natural texture in Substance Designer. For example, if you're making mud, all of the small details that you usually don't pay attention to are the ones that will make that texture looks so realistic. All of these small minutiae, like car tires that's been mixed in with footsteps, that's been mixed in with a lot of rain and a lot of wind, that's been moving that mud right and left, and then there is some small pebbles in there, small rocks, small bird feet steps, some feathers, some dirt scattered around on top of it, some other grassy stuff going on in there. A lot of those small details are what makes the texture so rich and full of details and believability. Same thing goes for environments. All of these small details are what makes that environment stand out. So the comparison between this one that looks very lousy and very bad made, in comparison to the other one that looks very straight and very art deco-ish. So this is one of the small details. Another one is, if we look at the stairs right here, you will see that they are made out of the same thing, which is those stones that have a very beveled smooth edges, and they are again varied in color, varied in size, and varied in height. So for example, right here there is a very steep area going from down here, in comparison to the other one in the town that have a very strict measured stairs. So again, small differences, but they, on the bigger picture, they make a lot of difference. And from here we can move on to the big players, which are the buildings. Now I want to discuss something here real quick. If we look closely at the buildings, which they look very nice, but if you're any way, shape or form familiar with the way that buildings are made, you will see that there isn't a clear modular kit that shows when you just look at them from far away. There isn't some sort of modular kit that you can point into, like these are the windows and these are the doors and those are the corner pieces. So I was studying this for like more than 3 months, not counting the first time that I played the game, and I was just wandering around this area trying to understand how the hell did they make it, even though I watched the making of the game, which is in Japanese. So if you are nihongo-jozu, you can check on Cygames Japanese channel to kind of get more information from there. But some of the information that they shared is something that I already noticed, but some of it goes so far to just confirm my speculation in theories, other than one, which is I don't think that they made this using modular assets. I think that they made it using traditional techniques like the ones that they used back in the ye old days. What I think they did is that they did the block out in the engine, but then they took the block out into something like Blender or Maya. Then they created these assets, because to look at it closely, you will see that the edges of the building, you see that they have like a slight curvature to them. Same goes with the roofs. You see that they have some curves going on in them. Again, the roofs that they use, they have very different sizes and shapes going on. Look at that one up there. Look at this one, the blacksmith one. Look at the shape of it. Look at the shape of the building and the side of it, and the way that the wood like flows seamlessly and freely. I don't think that they have any sort of modular kit that they can use for this. So that is why I speculate that they actually export this and modeled it individually into another in another 3D software. And there is another area in the second chapter for the goblin stuff that I think also they did it. That one is the one that confirms it for me, because the amount of variation in there in terms of the wood height and the wood sizes and differences in small details that you only can get if you use something like the cut tool or the bevel or the random transform in Blender, or using modifiers or the geometry tree nodes. I don't think you can get that using only the game engine, because look at these small details, like this window right here, or in that other complex right there. If we can go to it, like if you look at this complex right here, there are so many small details that you like. This window annoys me because it is impossible to create something like this with just a modular asset. It is almost damn near impossible. But there are all of those windows that have, like, just in this shot, look how many windows there are and the amount of difference of sizes that they have. In addition to the weird shape of the rooftops, which is the major point that I really like about this. The rooftop shapes is a huge problem when you're trying to model something that is very fantasy, because all of us, when we think about a house, we think about something that is very simple. So I think I will be representing everyone when I say when we think about a house, we think about something that looks like this. So look at this cursed roof right here. In comparison to the way that they did it here, you can see that first of all, they break in that triangle shape that we have right here, just one triangle. So the way that they did it is, if we look at the other one, which I kind of regret running away from there, but so we're gonna use this one as an example. If we look at it, you see that the center isn't in the exact smack there, the middle. So it is slightly offset from the center, which is the first step for you to create a good looking roof. The second step is the roof isn't just one single plane, just one single direction swoop. It have a bit of angle to it. It have a bit of randomness going on there. There is a sort of curvature going there. So those are two important, very nice steps to follow to get an aesthetically pleasing, nice on the eye, not so much as harsh as the bulky one that you get when you're trying to go for something like this. So usually what you're trying to do is something similar to this one. So in this one right here, in this hideous replication that I made, you will see that I slanted the The roof may be a little bit too much, because I think in the example that we have in the game they don't have it like this, but it is a bit more wobbly. It's a bit more something like this in the game. But also what's in the game, if you look at it, there are multiple steps. So it isn't just a gradual from the roof. You can transition to this area right here that have also some gameplay purposes. And also we have then you have this roof next to it, and from the roof next to it you can jump in to the other one, which it isn't just a gameplay purposes but also aesthetically pleasing, because if we look at them from the side, it looks nice to have them, not all of them having the same height and the same kind of shape, all of them being the same triangle and so on. And like this one, if you look at it, it does have more like a square with some beveled edges, which the other building is the king when it comes to this. If we go back and look at it, the journey is very long. So here is where the benefit of something like having that mod of the free camera. I really love this mod, so I'm gonna try and be professional and take some good angles right here. So yeah, let's go. Here we are. Now, if we look at this building from the top, you can see that it is not much triangle looking. The first time I looked at it, I think it looks to me like a hill shaped building with all of those smooth looking shapes, the smooth shape right there, and like the variation of height. It looks like a hill to me, which gives it more of that natural green look that they're trying to go with in this cozy environment. So other than the weird shape that they have a variation of height that you see right there. You can see this like a capsule shape. You can see that there is like a semicircle going on there, and above it there is that capsule shaped thing. Then there is this whatever kind of star shaped looking rooftop that is there. So if we can get close to it, which I don't think I'm going to be successful doing right here, so I'm gonna escape. So if we look at it now closely, you will see first of all how this roof is kind of like the example that we gave earlier. It is just one steep, one plane. So this is a problem. So to add in a bit of variation, something just to make it look nicely, some anchor points if you will, you have this window right here, and it's just snugly and cozily placed in there, and that makes it looks a bit nice. In addition to that, you have the angle of the roof. It's not just a perfect triangle with all of the edges being perfectly equal. You need to make the edges not equal. So you're either gonna make two of them equal, or one of those two is bigger than the others. That adds in to the variation. Another thing is, like you see here, even as something as perfect as a circle shape, they managed to add in these extra details, these windows that you have here, both here above and below. So you might think that they stop at there. So you have this big one, the highest one, then you have the one below it, and you have this small step right here. This kind of stuff is what makes me think that they actually modeled this in an external software where they have a lot of control over every and each detail that they want to add in according to the concept art. So here is an example that have all of the lessons or the things that we noticed before applied to it. This is just the base house. There can be a lot applied to it. Obviously there is the part of like the house as a build as a whole, aside from the roof itself, which obviously it needs to have some curvature added into it, something like this for example, and maybe even like add some wobbliness to it by moving the edges a bit forward, something like this. So you add in as many uneven edges and shapes as you possibly can to break in that perfect 3D look. So other than that, we have these roof tiles right here that we can use in to break these one decline that the roof usually have. In addition to making the roof uneven, these ones are looking like this. So the reason why you have this extra margin of error below is because you want it to blend in with the surface below it. So you don't know usually how much you need to go low so you keep that margin of error there just in case. Also, buildings need to have that. As you can see with this one, there is so much below, because usually when you're working with the terrain, it is something like this. It's usually on a decline or something like that. So if I had the building as a whole being just like this, you will see that it will leave a lot of space below it. So that is why it is preferable to add a lot of margin of error. Usually you have some extra shader or material applied there, some cobblestone or some rocks or bricks for like the basement, for example, even though you don't have explored interiors, but you just keep it in there just to elude to being more than meets the eye. So yeah, going back to the roofs, the roofs are actually simple. These windows that I added on top, you can either duplicate the roof and try to make it fit within that small window, or just make it like this. You add in a 3D plane and you just introduce a decline like a. So this is a window, which if I extrude it down, so this is a window. If I hide the other one, this is a successful good window. But as you can see, even though that we broke this step, the one decline, one surface roof, we still have the problem of the top half of it, or the top surface is still have the problem of having a straight one edge. So we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the roof and introduce that slight bump to it, and we're gonna. Of course, the way that you edit these is up to you, independent on your artistic skills and the artistic vision that you're trying to go with. But yeah, and you need to add in something like this, not just here, but also in the edges. If we look at it in the game, you will see that they have extra trim that they add in the edges. Those are actual 3D model that is added in the roof that has only the texture. You add in those models on the side to add in more interesting points and shapes to the silhouette. And you see it with the building also. The building can be just one rectangle, but you need to add in these bricks right here. All of these 5 or 4, how many of them? There are 5 bricks. All of them are just there for detail. The same bricks are used for something like these ones that I'm pointing at. Those are the same bricks. Also, where is it? There's like a fence here in the doorway. Those are also the same bricks that they have normals on top of them, the normals that are baked when you sculpt them in Blender or ZBrush. Then there are the small details within. Those are normal maps or detail maps that are added on top. So yeah, also in the sides you can see right here that they have another mesh for these rooftops that you need obviously to blend them in, but that is another topic for another day that we can go into detail when we get to it. The important thing is that we talked about the roofs and how the environment is actually made, because I don't think again that they make it in engine, because the environment is too detailed for it to be just made in engine. So yeah. So one other remark that I like to give here is that going back to an older point that I made, which is the difference between this village and the town. So as we explored the village, you saw that everything blends in to each other using gradients. Basically, every object blurs in to the other, giving it a one solidified whole entity. So in comparison with the town, if we go to it, you will see that everything is different from the other. So they kind of use different techniques that we are going to explore. So if we go there,